They arrested him and the commotion died down. I tagged out with the night sous chef and went downstairs to the bathroom to take a shit. Didn't think much of it. I didn't smoke or take any breaks that day, so I took my sweet-ass time in there. Checked my phone, thought about my day, spent some meaningful time in the old office. I wrapped it up, opened the door, and there was a line out there 25 people long waiting to go in there. The management had told our guests that to use that bathroom because the one in the restaurant had blood and whatnot all out front of it. Boy, was that embarrassing. Charlie, he just walks out, and all these people are looking at you. They knew you just took a shit in there, boy. Oh, man, I know that feeling. That's all I got. I logged it all in the chef's notes, except the bathroom part, to send to the owners along with my specials for the day. Changed out and took the metro home. That's my crazy story for you, Dave. No lies, no embellishment. That shit happened. Literally. And without further ado, episode 30, Chef Joe Flamm. Yeah, why not? Yeah. I mean, this is, this has had an incredible effect on young cooks. They reach out all the time. They say, hey, I didn't know about this restaurant. Now I do. I'm going to go there, try to go work. Or I heard awesome. This guy. I want to look at, So I
saw you did one with Sasso. I wasn't
familiar
with it.
Yeah.
And I always feel like, I can't believe anybody wants me on any podcast. So
yeah.
Everybody asks me, I'm like, yeah, sure. Whatever. You want to come fucking shoot the shit?
Yeah, let's do it. So, usually a suciotalk, we're going to take it all the way back to when you were a niño.
Yeah.
So, Chef, where were you born?
You ready?
Oh, yeah, baby. I'm ready to go.
I was born south side of Chicago.
Okay.
I've lived here my whole life. I've never lived anywhere else. I'm a townie.
Okay.
So I just, this is where I'm from. This is, I grew up 5 blocks away from where my dad grew up.
Okay.
We're just south side of Chicago-ass people.
Very cool. Fuck yeah. And what did your parents do?
My dad was an accountant. He just retired. He's a deacon now.
Heard.
And my mom was a Chicago police lieutenant for 29 years. She
Gotcha.
just retired as well.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Are the rumors true about a cop's child? Were you guys the wild ones?
I mean...
Or were you tame?
For me, I felt like, I don't know. It depends who you ask. I guess I was kind of wild. But compared to other cops' kids I knew, I was kind of tame for the bunch.
Gotcha.
Grew up in one of those neighborhoods that was very, just there was a lot of cops, a lot of firemen, just really kind of, that's what people were over there. It wasn't weird that, my parent was police. A lot of people's parents were.
Okay, very cool, very cool. And how was the food when you were growing up? Was your mom cooking? Was your dad cooking?
My dad always did breakfast. That was always his thing. He'd do Sunday breakfast on the weekends. And so he'd make pancakes, waffles, eggs, stuff like that. But he really, really still doesn't cook. But my mom cooks. My mom always cooked. But my grandmother was the real big cook, my Italian grandmother. And so we grew up cooking with her. You know what I mean? We still do Feast of the Seven Fishes. We make raviolis for Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So it was very much a part of it. And then, when we were a little bit older, my mom was working second shift, which is like 5 p.m. to 2 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And so she would do a lot of stuff where there'd be like a gap between where my parents got home. We'd get home from school, my mom would be home, and then she'd have to go to work, and we'd wait for my dad to get home.
Gotcha.
So it was always kind of like she'd get dinner started, and then
he would finish it.
Me or my sister would finish it usually. And my older sister, she doesn't cook. She hates cooking. She's a terrible fucking cook. So I kind of was like, took the realm of like, well, I want to eat good food, so I'm going to do this. So it's kind of, it was kind of a nice time where it's like I'd get home from school, me and my mom would kind of cook stuff together, and if I told her I wanted certain things, I'd be like, I want to make pork chops, and she'd get pork chops, or, I love ribs. I've always loved ribs. I get ribs, and, I want to make ribs. And so it was fun, and those were kind of things, like, my mom knew I loved cooking ribs, so it's like anytime she met someone who made good ribs, she'd ask them how they made them, and then she would tell me so I could, like, try to make them like that, So it's like... that was kind of, always our thing. And then she would, after that, my mom worked midnights for like 20 of the 30 years she was on the job. Oh, my God. And so she used to always bring home like food in the morning, from all like the overnight places that were open late, and places that open at 6. And I always loved that.
That's awesome.
Wake up like in the morning, there'd be like a sub in the fridge, or there'd be like wings from wherever.
That's so cool.
Depending on where she was working that night, because sometimes, especially if she got sent out to a different district, if she was working like over on the east side, and she'd like go to like Heine's or something, and she'd be like, "Oh, I was on the east side, so I had to go to Heine's and get the wings from Heine's."
Okay.
Yeah,
so she's a foodie. She was all about eating all the late night.
Right, and there'd be rib tips in the fridge or something, So there was always, that was always kind of the bonus.
I love that. What were your interests early on?
My interests early on, I loved football.
Okay, so you were a sports guy.
Yeah, I was always a sports guy.
Playing on the team.
Yeah, I played on the team for some years, and. I loved sports. I've always loved food. And I fell in love with restaurants at a young age. Like when I was 15, I started working in restaurants, and way before I was really like into the cooking end of it, I was just like, man, like working in a restaurant's the best.
Yeah.
Like I loved being in a restaurant. I love fucking restaurants.
Yeah.
I love going to restaurants. You know what I mean? Just experiencing it and like. Going to a new place, trying something new. Like I love just like the stop. Like you just see a place and you go.
Yeah.
Right? Like let's go in and see what this place is about.
Yep.
Like that is like my favorite thing in the world. And it's like my wife, she's always like, it's obnoxious how much you just like enjoy everything. Like she's like, it's like to an annoying point where it's like, because I'm like, I can go anywhere and
have a great time.
Right. Somebody's like, hey, you want to travel here? I'm like, sure. You know what I mean? She's
doesn't
like,
matter.
You want to go do this dinner in Moline, Iowa? It's like, yeah, let's see what's going on there. It's like, I want to see what's up.
Like, I want to get drunk at the bar there.
Right. I want to find a dive bar.
Yeah, exactly.
Talk to some people. Yep. And like, she's like, that is like her literal nightmare. And so, so it's like, that was something, I think we're all rolling through, and I think the restaurants are such a collector of lost souls sometimes. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And it was the first place for me where, I loved playing football. I got to high school, and I was kind of not big enough to play anymore. I was really short going into high school. I was like 5'3".
Got you.
And I grew late.
You were like Rudy did it.
Yeah. But so by the time I got bigger, I was ready into restaurants and not into football anymore. But it was the first place I was like, man, this is like. Felt good.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It felt like...
You felt part of something.
Like I really came out of my shell, and it was like, yeah, you just worked hard.
Because you could. Because you could just be weird, and it didn't matter. You could just say whatever you wanted to say, and it was like, okay.
Right. It felt like wildly safe. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how else to explain it. It was just like, I felt like, it was definitely, high school was great. It was fine, whatever. But like, it was always like, I don't know where I fucking fit in all this, right? Mm-hmm. I went to an all boys Catholic high school.
Oh wow, okay.
So it was like very strict. It was shirt and tie every day. Like your hair couldn't touch your collar. Like fucking rules on rules.
Wow.
And I'm not great with rules, and so that was weird. And then it was like this place. It was like the only rule was like fucking work your ass off.
Yeah.
And then you can do whatever you want. If you worked your ass off, you made money and you could do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And it was like there was a freedom to that. And because I worked at a restaurant, I could be out as late as I wanted. It didn't matter. The place I worked at was a bar, basically. So we were open until 2. So it's like sometimes it was like, like I remember when the Cubs made a run, I was working Tuesday nights till 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
And then I go to school on Wednesday. And it was like... And I was falling asleep in English class, but I didn't give a shit. I would rather be at work and be doing my thing. And so, I loved it. I loved the meeting people. I loved talking to people, even if they were talking shit to me. It was like, I had kind of like shaggy, shitty hair. I was like a stoner, little fucking punk-ass high school kid. So, it was like
the
all
older
these
guys are just like...
Southside dads just be like, cut your fucking hair, you fucking pussy. Yeah. I was like, yeah, whatever. But
was there any, significant mentors that you had there?
I got the job there because my best friend from high school, my buddy Matt Doherty, his dad was he was the general manager of this place, and he was like, I met this guy, and he's like, hey, my dad's the general manager at this place. I was working at this other spot that was like a steakhouse across the street from a cemetery, like on 111th Street. And I worked there for a few months because my sister worked there. She got me the job, and then my buddy Matt was like, once you have a license and you can drive to this place a little bit out in the burbs, he said, my dad runs it, you should come work there.
All right.
I was like, great. So I went there, and I went to work there for this guy, Pat Doherty. And Pat was like, Pat's the best. You know what I mean? He's like, he looks like Brian Dennehy, and he's just like amazing. You know, big Southside Irish guy, like, you know, just, you know, used to smoke Winston's. Just
classic.
Like, awesome. Like everything you'd imagine. And I just, you know, and Pat, me and Pat really got along because I worked hard, and whenever he needed somebody, I'd show up.
Yeah.
He'd be like, I got nobody for Friday night. I'm like, I'll be there. And, you know, whatever he needed. He'd be like, hey, here's a bunch of cash, take it to the bank. And
yeah.
You know, I was 6 to 8 years old, and he'd give me an envelope with, you know, 10 grand in it to take to the bank or whatever. And, you know, whatever it was, it's just, you know, Pat needed, I'd be like, sure, no problem, I'll go do it. And, you know, but so we spent a ton of time together. And I'm sure he spent most of that time trying to talk me out of being in the business, but it was me falling in love with it. And I spent 3 years with him there, and then he opened his own bar further out in the suburbs. And when I was 19, I went to work for him there, and I spent a year with him there. And you know, did everything to, like, you know, help them lay the tile in the place when they got it going. When they had a beer garden, I dug half the beer garden. Like, it just, again, whatever. And I loved it. I loved being a part of as much as anybody would let me do. And so he was really, you know, and he let me do it. And he just was awesome. And he, you know, I remember when I told him, he found out I was going to culinary school because I went to college, you know, I was going to school for accounting. And one day I just basically fucking dropped out of college and decided I was going to culinary school. And, you know, I went back to Pat, let me pick up some shifts to make some money. And he was like, what the fuck are you going to culinary school for? Like, just go in the back and just learn how to fucking cook with these guys. And I was like, no, I want to, like, do it and, like, go through the whole thing, you know.
What culinary school?
I went to Chic here in Chicago, Le Cordon Bleu.
Okay. What years?
I was there in 07 to 08.
Okay.
It's like that 15-month accelerated program they used to do before they got
sued. You go there with Chef John? Chef John.
Hong. Yes.
You did?
Yeah, I think he was there. Little guy? Like,
no, I mean, I don't know. At that time, maybe he was little. 2007, you know. We were just out of high school at that point, so maybe. No, I'm thinking of the chef instructor guy. Oh, got you. Never mind. Yeah. All right. Wow, okay. 15-month accelerated program, so what does that mean? So I went there, I mean, I knew nothing about culinary school. I didn't know another person who was a chef. Gotcha. Right? Okay. Like, all the restaurants I knew, it was like, dude, some guy had some money and he owned it. Yeah. And there was, like, dudes who worked in the kitchen where it's like, the bar I worked in high school, there was 2 kitchen crews. Yeah. One was there for 6 months. They'd leave. They'd go back to Mexico. And then the other crew would come for 6 months. And then it just rotated. Really? There was one guy who stayed the whole time. Good for them. Like, it was like a crazy... They figured it out. And we're just like, and that's what it was. And you'd be like, oh, where are those guys? They're like, oh, they're back home. And then, you know, they basically swapped. It was wild. And I was just like, and at the time, you know, I didn't know anything else. So I was like, this is totally normal. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, this is how things work. And then, like, you know, I remember later, I was like, that is fucking bonkers. So illegal. They were just like, you know, I mean, we were operating a restaurant like that. You would get dragged out in the street if you did that these days. Right. You know what I mean? It was like, you know, back then, it's just everybody got paid cash. I mean, there must have been 2 people who had W-2s for that fucking place. Like, we're just thinking about it now. It's just like handing out cash at the end of the night. How fucking wild that would be. But it was what it was. And, you know, at the time, that was great. But so I never knew anyone who was a chef until it was literally, I kind of got it in my head I was going to do this. And I remember I literally just fucking Googled Emeril Lagasse. And I was like, how did this guy become Emeril Lagasse? He went to Johnson & Wales. Yeah, and he went to Johnson & Wales. And I was like, what the fuck is Johnson & Wales? And I looked it up. I was like, oh, there's like, you can go to school for like culinary? I'm pretty sure he got expelled for cocaine. Was that true? That was like the rumor that went around campus. And I think I looked it up, but this was like 2007. So I don't know. Emeril, no if you're listening. In 2007, dog. But so I was like, okay. I was like, I'm going to go to culinary school. And so I found one. Originally, there was this culinary school. It's in like Vail, Colorado. Okay. Like in the mountains. Some like community college. And so I was like, yeah, I'll just go here. It's super cheap. I was like, I'll just ski every day and fucking go to culinary school. And like, you know. So
I already, called my parents and told them I dropped out of college. And
Yeah.
They were fucking super unenthused about that.
Oh, for sure.
As well as everybody else in my family.